Oh, Capricorn, you currently have Jupiter in combustion in your 8th house of shared resources and transformation and other people's money. And so this is likely to be manifesting as financial anxiety in your life, or a sense that support from other people isn't quite materializing. Friends, there is a change coming, rest assured. My friends, Venus is also in fall in your 9th house, and this dampens the optimism that we usually have about life. It sort of impedes our belief systems and our travel plans. But have hope, dear friends. It's not going to stay this way, and I'm going to tell you why and when and how in this video. This is a video forecast for your sun, your moon, and your rising sign. You can check out all 3 videos, and they will tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Friends, I am Ksenia, and welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the rest of August 2026. Now, this is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal. Look it up if you need to know the difference. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. If you're new here and having trouble finding the piece about your particular sign, all you need to do is go to the timestamps or the chapters to take you directly to the information. But for those of you who enjoy learning about astrology and understanding the full gamut of what this week holds for you, then please enjoy listening to the introductory piece. Before we dive into the astrology this month, my friends, I have 5 big announcements to make, and I'm so excited to share them with you. The first is that my Astro Wheels are back. They are for sale at the website, and the US edition is just fantastic. You can order yours today before the small production run that I'm starting with is all sold out, and believe me, they sell out fast. The second announcement is that I will be selling my Astro Wheels at our upcoming Stars Over Tahoe retreat. Again, you can check that out in the details on the website. There's a link in the description below. You'll not only enjoy a fabulous retreat with myself and my husband, David Warner Matheson, but you can get yourself a fabulous Astro Wheel free from postage costs at the retreat as well too. So as I said, check the link in the description and join the wait list for the retreat to be the first to book in for the retreat as soon as our rooms are released for sale. Now, our next announcement, number 3, is that obviously the eclipse is upon us. We're hearing all about it in social media, etc., etc. And those who follow me, they know that I do a mammoth reading for each sign and the impacts of the eclipse for each sign every single eclipse season. And that's available at my Patreon family, the Guiding Star Astrology family. This is something you don't want to miss if you want to work with the energies of this eclipse, if you want to understand it fully, if you want to use its potential blessings to get the most out of your life. And this is going to be a very blessed eclipse series. I can't wait to tell you all about it at the Patreon family. The link again will be in the description below. If you want to join that community, it's only $5 to join for a month, which gives you access to all the eclipse forecasts and even more stuff from the back catalogue that you will love. And the 4th announcement that I want to make is that readings for August and September are now available as well. You can book a time that works for you. And in fact, I've changed my website so that you can now see what's available before you make your booking if you want a live reading with me. Or you can book a pre-recorded reading with me. These are actually my favorite. You know, I can do a really deep dive into your astrology in a pre-recorded reading the way I just can't do in a live session. And I love the teacher in me, the researcher in me, you know, the person who loves to deep dive 3 planets in the 8th house. I can't help myself. I love going really, really deep into people's charts and telling them all that I see unfolding there about their personality and what's going to happen in the future. I love exploring people's charts in a pre-recorded reading. So these are all available now at the website, and this is just in time as we get back into life and say farewell to summer in the Northern Hemisphere or get ready for the beautiful spring that's emerging down in the Southern Hemisphere. Now, finally, I have a new way of sharing videos here at the Guiding Star Astrology YouTube channel. You're going to want to listen to this so you know what to expect in the future. On Thursdays, I will be sharing the cardinal signs. They will get their week ahead reading on Thursday. On Fridays, it's the turn of the fixed signs to receive their reading. And on Saturday, the mutable signs will get all the juicy astro goodness for their sign in a reading for the week ahead. So I hope everybody's subscribed to the channel so they don't miss a single episode of astrological empowerment. Now, friends, I can't help but notice as I talk to all my astrology friends and my beautiful Patreon family, we have lots of chat groups, and I hear how everybody's going and how everyone's experiencing the energies of the moment there. Same with my fantastic Royal Stars Academy students. I also have been talking a lot to my loved ones, and one thing I notice, everyone is really struggling right now. For example, some of my very famous and well-known astrology friends are wondering why their businesses have suddenly just dried up like that. And it's more than just the summer quiet period that happens every year or the advent of AI. They're actually feeling a lack and stuckness in the energy, in the energetic field. And they're not wrong. It's almost palpable. You can almost hold it and touch it. Others have mentioned the tremendous amount of shadow work that they're struggling to process right now. Other people I know have mentioned the tremendous rises in crime that they're seeing, both personal instances of crime and also the obvious corporate and governmental crimes that are taking place in front of us everywhere. The mask is absolutely off. So there's this sensation of fear that I'm really sensing in the ether, what's going to become of us type of energy right now. So just know that if you're feeling this way too, you're not alone. It's the energy of this moment. And I'm going to break it down for you in this video. We're going to look at the astrology of why it's feeling that way right now. And then we're going to look at when it's going to change, and it is going to change. You're going to want to stick around and find out all about how and why that will change. And as always, I'm going to wrap things up by making it personal for your sun, moon, and your rising sign. So stick around for the astro goodness. Here we go. The first reason that the energy feels so heavy right now is that Jupiter is combust. Jupiter is hidden in the sky until August 9th through to 20, depending on where you reside on the globe, when he will become visible again. But as you can see on the astro wheel here is the sun, here is Jupiter, they're conjoined. And therefore, from our vantage point on Earth, here at the logo, we can only see the sun. We can't see Jupiter. Jupiter is lost in the glare of the sun. He is invisible, not in the sky at all, as far as we can see. So the auspicious blessings that we normally associate with this great benefic planet Jupiter, they now become weak when they're not visible. And challenging situations in our lives become more noticeable, more pronounced when Jupiter is hidden in the sky. It's this classic as above, so below. When we have the great benefic visible, our lives feel more benefic. When Jupiter is invisible, we feel more desperate, more fearful. Jupiter is the planet of faith, the planet of expansion, the planet of, it'll work out. And he is present in the sky. We just can't see him. He's present in a sign that's usually strong for him. So that's thumbs up. That's good. But he's not giving any light. He is not visible. And it means there's an absence. Well, actually, it means there's not an absence of resources available to us and support networks that are available to us, but it's an absence of this feeling that everything is going to be okay. That's what we're experiencing. So Jupiter is the planet, and he's so beautiful. I love him so much. Jupiter is the planet that says, you know what? There's a way through this. Things can improve. Someone will come to my aid. Someone will help. There's more than enough for everybody. The future contains so many possibilities. Justice, meaning, and proportion will eventually prevail upon the earth. Things can grow rather than simply be managed. These are Jupiter thoughts. These are Jupiter concepts and energetic dispositions. And when his light is no longer in the sky, we have a much harder time feeling that those concepts are real and active in our everyday lives. They're missing. They're missing from our journey. And boy, do we feel the ache. So we can be surrounded by possibilities, and yet we feel like there are no possibilities. We can have resources in abundance around us, and yet we feel impoverished. We can have people who love us everywhere, and nevertheless we feel completely alone. We can have a bright future right there ahead of us, and yet we can't imagine it. We can't visualize it. So quite frankly, a combust Jupiter really sucks, but it happens every single year. So why is it so bad and so heavy at the moment? Well, the second reason is this one. Venus, the other benefic planet in the sky, is in her fall, and she's going to be in her fall in Virgo until August the 6th. So Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is opposite Virgo, and that means the sign that you're exalted in means the sign opposite that sign is your fall sign. So Venus is in fall. Now, Virgo, what does Virgo do? Virgo is a beautiful sign. Lovely, lovely energy. I love Virgo. I have so many Virgos in my family. It's uncanny. But Virgo strips Venus of ease and softness and replaces that ease and softness with critique, analysis, and this hyper-awareness of what's lacking in our lives and what's broken. Virgo asks the question, is it useful? Is it efficient? Can we afford it? Well, what's wrong with it? What needs fixing? What isn't working? What could go wrong? And taken to an extreme, these are pretty heavy questions to sort of have spinning around in our monkey mind all day long. So Venus in Virgo actually can turn this Venusian principle of pleasure and enjoyment and contentment into constant assessment, constant worry. So instead of life is good, it becomes, well, life could be good if we could just fix these 17 things first. And that's exactly the sort of atmosphere that we are in right now on the planet. And we start noticing things like what's wrong with our relationships, what's wrong with our bodies, what's wrong with our finances, what's wrong with our homes, what's wrong with our jobs, what's wrong with our society, what's wrong with ourselves. It's a very unforgiving time. And again, it really does suck. But once again, Venus moves through Virgo every single year. This is not an anomaly. It just so happens that the cycle of Venus in Virgo is happening at the same time as Jupiter is combust. They're lining up together this year. And in fact, they will also be in the same dynamic next year and the year after as well. So something to be ready for, okay? But this is a period of time when both the benefic planets are struggling to give their blessings to we humans on the planet. But friends, that's not all. Here's the free set of steak knives that's also thrown in, and it's Saturn down here, retrograde in the sign of Aries, which is his fall. So this is the third component in all this heaviness. And this one is an energy of review and correct. This is the sequence. So we're asking with Saturn retrograding in Aries, what needs fixing in our lives? A bit like Venus in Virgo. What needs more maturity? Where do I need to tighten my belt and become more economical or more stoic or more principled or more practical? That's Saturn retrograde energy in any sign. But it's difficult when he's in his fall in Aries. Saturn retrograde can give us material struggle plus shadow work to deal with a feeling of no visible relief in sight. Saturn in Aries is particularly uncomfortable as a combination when Saturn is retrograding. And this is because Saturn is a planet that says, wait, establish the structure, be patient, and accept the limitations. While Aries says, no way, I want now, I want to act, I want to move, I want results immediately. Oh my God, what a crazy contradiction this energy is. So people can experience at this time, and we are experiencing at this time, sort of this dreadful expression of effort without results. That's psychologically brutal. It creates that awful, awful feeling of, I'm just doing everything I can. Why isn't anything happening? So hard. It's one of the most Saturnian experiences imaginable. And boy, does it suck. Because Saturn is retrograde, there can also be a feeling of having to revisit things that we actually thought were already finished. Old debts come back to haunt us, old disappointments, old career issues, old relationship dynamics, old family problems, old fears, old structural problems in society itself. It isn't necessarily that new problems are appearing. Sometimes it's just, I thought I dealt with this. Why has it come back? So Saturn retrograde, another heavy energy thrown into this mix. It's essentially, this is where we're at. The benefics are temporarily unable to perform their functions at full strength, and I've explained why. And at the same time, Saturn is simultaneously demanding that people deal with the realities they would much rather sweep under the mat and not have to deal with. Heavy stuff. Now, as if that wasn't enough, and I'm explaining and laying out why, I will talk about the end of this energy very soon. But the universe has also thrown in on top of all that some really deep psychological components. We have Neptune retrograding as well, and Pluto retrograding, as well as Saturn. This is the Saturn-Neptune-Pluto undertow. And this is difficult. It's not a light, carefree energy to have all these big outer planets that are actually connecting with one another going retrograde at the same time. And it calls forth really deep, introspective, soul-searching work deep within our psyche to transform us. The universe wants us to grow and mature, but God, it's hard sometimes. And psychologically, Saturn and Neptune together in Aries, it can be particularly miserable as a retrograde together in the same sign because it's combining Saturn with his reality focus, his limits, his morality, his scarcity, his energy of responsibility, with Neptune's uncertainty and disillusion and confusion and fear and diffuse boundaries and feeling of helplessness. So what's the result of mixing this oil and water energy together? It can be, I don't know what is happening, but I know I just can't control it. And my friends, isn't that one of the most anxiety-producing combinations that there is? Don't you just hate to feel like life is out of control? When you look at your bank account, when you look at the government decisions, when you look at the scales when you get on them in the morning, when your child is getting bullied at school, you feel out of control. You can't do anything about the circumstances. It is so anxiety-inducing. So here is another component of the energy that is at play. Pluto, as I said as well, is also retrograding in Aquarius, and of course this adds a collective dimension to all this craziness. You know, Pluto's power structures, social systems, group dynamics, social instability, and all the darker aspects of collective behavior. This is Pluto's collective expression in these areas. So just look at what happened in Spain this week. So when you're hearing people talking about all the crime, all the social deterioration, the personal vulnerability, the financial insecurity, when you're hearing people deep in depression or fear or dealing with their shadow material, it's quite plain that the current astrology has synced up in such a way that creates this atmosphere that I'm describing. But my friends, keep in mind everything is cyclical. Good times come and go. Bad times come and go. Nothing actually does remain stuck. It just maybe requires a little patience from time to time. And that's where we're at right now. Hang on there, bite your fingernails if you have to, because everything is changing. And I'm going to tell you when things are going to lift and how they're going to lift right now. So the first thing off the agenda is going to be Venus moving out of Virgo on August 6th. That's not far away. And she's going to move into her own sign, Libra. We Librans, we love having Venus in our own sign. Her own sign, her best expression. This will be an almost immediate softening. Now, it's not going to be like a lightning bolt of change, but it's a softening around relationships, around your personal comfort level, your sense of self-worth and self-value, and the general feeling of pleasure and abundance in our everyday lives. Whew, hang in there. We're almost there. Then, as the month goes on, Jupiter will clear combustion between August 9th and 20th, depending on where you live on the planet when he becomes visible in the sky. Now, this is the real hinge point. Faith, divine generosity, and doors to greater possibilities become active once again as Jupiter's light returns to the Earth. I am so excited. I miss my Jupiter. He rules Pisces, my rising sign, and boy, I notice when he is invisible every year. Ugh, hate it. Bring it on. August 9th to 20th, depending where you are in the world. Now, Saturn is going to stay retrograde until late November, so the undertone with Aries doesn't fully release this month. We're still going to keep going through those Saturnian restructuring energies that I described. But the good news is it stops being paired with a hidden Jupiter, which is the part that makes things feel hopeless rather than just needful of more effort. So, yay! That is going to feel more bearable once Jupiter becomes visible. We have eclipses going on all throughout August as well. I mentioned this earlier. So a lot of emotions and key transformational life events are about to take place. You can find out more about what those key events will be for your sign at my massive Guiding Star Astrology Family Eclipse Overview. Links in the description to join the Guiding Star family below. But with eclipse energy at work throughout August, don't expect everything to suddenly be coming up roses in the blink of an eye. Instead of, why is everything so heavy? Why is everything so bleak? What's going to happen is we'll start to feel more like, okay, I finally understand what this is all about. I know I can't keep carrying it this way. Something needs to change. And it will. Eclipses bring change. So, fair warning, there can be grief and endings. You know, we're sad because something's coming to a conclusion in our life. There can be exhaustion. There can be revelations that you receive. There can be emotional release at this time due to the eclipses. And the good news is this is actually a discharge of all this yucky, heavy, stuck energy that we're struggling with right now. So that is some good news. The eclipses are going to perhaps feel tense for a time as we process it all, but then it's like, out the other side. And then the real winner in the mix of when things are going to change and why things are going to change is the Saturn-Jupiter trine that's going to occur on August the 31st. I can't wait for that. I'll be talking more about that topic when it comes up at the time. But in short, as an overview for now, the current misery we're feeling has a time limit. This is the first of the Jupiter-Saturn trines, and it becomes exact on the 31st of August, as I said, at approximately 13 degrees of Leo to Aries. So Saturn will be at 13 degrees Aries, Jupiter will be at 13 degrees Leo. They will make an exact aspect. If you've got planets around those degrees, you lucky thing, you'll feel it very strongly. But this whole influence is going to be building throughout August, and it will continue to flow and be felt all through September. It's a blessing. This is a completely different Saturn-Jupiter combination from having Jupiter combust and Saturn in sort of an isolated mode. Jupiter says there's possibilities. Saturn says, well, let's make them real. Oh, I love it. Great time to come on a retreat for astrology trip to Tahoe. If you're interested, the energy is going to be perfect. So that is one of the most useful combinations for actually turning hope into something tangible. Believe me, it's going to get so much better, my friends. And for people who've been in stuck circumstances where nothing seems to move, real possibilities feel like an enormous improvement in our lives. The Jupiter-Saturn trine is almost like the perfect antidote to this present condition that we're going through. It's hope and structure, opportunity and realism meeting. It's growth and sustainability for the long term coming together. It's faith and evidence for the faith that we've had. It's expansion with appropriate boundaries. I love it. Perhaps most importantly, something that was previously only hoped for and dreamt of can start becoming concrete and real around the end of August. So isn't that worth hanging on for till we get there? It's a very different energy, what we're experiencing right now compared to where we'll be at the end of August. And the good news is we need to know this in this moment because knowledge is power and it gets us through the dark times. So friends, let's find out how it's going to play out for each and every sign. Capricorn friends, well, what an interesting month we are in, and you've probably been feeling the heaviness in quite a profound way because through the end of July and into the early August, Jupiter has been combust in your 8th house, and this is a difficult placement to have Jupiter in a combust state. Jupiter, the planet of joy and hope and optimism, here struggling to get his energy out due to combustion in the house of accidents and illnesses and trauma and life turns around. So, your life may very well, Capricorn, have been going through a lot of upheavals, but you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, or you feel like there's no purpose to what you're suffering with or experiencing as Jupiter is combust in this house of blessing. It's also a house of receiving, and you might have been hoping that somebody would be able to support you and help you and back you, but somehow it's blocked right now. It hasn't been arriving. This is a financial house. So a lot of the ways that this house expresses are through currently restrictions, rising costs, inadequate income to cover the bills, delayed payments from other people that you were expecting to come in, feeling that there are unexpected expenses that are making you feel very vulnerable and very weak. There's a lot of financial pressure, especially financial pressure for resources that you share, maybe with a marriage partner or a business partner, or income that you're expecting from other people. For example, maybe you're expecting some sort of inheritance or legacy, and you thought it would be here by now, but it's being held up with red tape and all the governmental hoo-ha that these things usually have to go through. So there's these problems that maybe have been there in the background for a long, long time that are surfacing now. Could even be unresolved family issues, old debts, legal and administrative problems, difficulties with infrastructure that no longer is working as it should for you, institutional failures. All of these sorts of things are how a combust Jupiter in the 8th house can express. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially when we're dealing with resources. But it need not be just that. Jupiter is the planet of joy in the house of sex, and he is invisible here. So your feeling of sexual attractiveness and desire, your feeling of desirability, and your desire for your partner can be all but gone. And you get no joy, no pleasure, no delight out of those interactions that usually bring happiness to human relationships. And of course, that can create stress in a relationship and problems with a partner. There can be some real difficulties there. It's also a house of psychic activity, and you might usually be able to tune in to messages from spirit with a great deal of ease, but along comes Jupiter combust, and suddenly it's not that the messages aren't there, but they're just heavy messages that bring you down, make you feel like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Fear. This, as I said, is a house of trauma, and the trauma tends to rise to the surface before the hope and the joy can even get there with Jupiter in combust state. Now, not only that, you've also got the other benefic Venus in its fall in Virgo in the 9th house. This means that there can be a sense of criticism or heaviness or lack of comfort around 9th house things. You go for a trip to Bali or something like that, Capricorn, and it just doesn't satisfy, and you feel like that was a waste of my time and effort and money because everything went wrong, or I just felt like it was just a difficult time and I was questioning everything and felt really unrelaxed the whole time I was there. Venus in Virgo makes 9th house things for you feel like they're not quite good enough, not quite enjoyable enough. The holiday wasn't good enough. The course of study you didn't really give you what you hoped for. The celebration that you attended felt like it was a bit bit of a dud. An experience at court actually didn't go according to plan and didn't come out the way you'd hoped it will. If you're with a second life partner, you could feel like there's some sort of distance or criticism coming from your second life partner at this time. Or your grandchildren, grandchildren are seen through the ninth house. They might feel to you like they're somehow distant or cranky at you, or in some kind of judgmental state for some reason or another. All of these things are Venus debilitated in Virgo while Jupiter is also invisible. A difficult combination indeed. But the good news is, Capricorn, that around the first week of August, Venus is moving into Libra, her own home territory. That's the first softening of the energy that's been so heavy and so harsh for the last little while. And then around the middle of August, between the 9th and the 20th, depending where you live in the world, Jupiter starts to appear as the morning star. And from that point on, things get noticeably lighter. We start to feel like our financial situations, especially our finances with partners, begin to stabilize, becomes more manageable. Get my words out. We find practical solutions that we can work through with our partners regarding material circumstances. We find that inheritances are released to us at last, perhaps, or any accidents or illnesses or traumas that have been bubbling up to the surface where we've had to maybe revisit an old wound to the soul or something like that. They actually are easy to overcome once Jupiter becomes visible. Joy arrives. Joy arrives in the morning. I believe that's an old biblical saying, as Jupiter becomes the morning star. So we actually have the capacity to heal. We have the hope that we can heal. We actually have the skill sets to heal traumas and wounds. We might find that specialist that we need for our circumstances, or we might take up a 5 rhythms dance class that's going to enable us to really process our emotions in a healthy way so that we can be freed from the inner turmoil and trauma. Or maybe our sexual attractiveness is no longer an issue for us, and we find a solution to that problem, and we get unstuck as Jupiter becomes visible in the 8th house regarding that around the middle of August. We might reconcile with a partner. We might feel like, I'm going to go shopping for some sexy lingerie now because suddenly I feel alive again in that realm of life. We find that, feeling stuck in these 8th house realms finally starts to shift. We get hope, we get positivity, and we get momentum around 8th house things. Hope becomes more tangible. And this is extra so towards the end of August, because that's when the Jupiter-Saturn trine starts to form. I'll talk more about that in future videos, because that's a very special occurrence that will be happening at the end of the month. But of course, we are starting to feel like the 9th house becomes lighter as Venus is no longer debilitated there and moving into her strength. So she's giving us, generally speaking, more pleasure, more joy, and more everyday happiness and joyful experiences. So that's good. And it frees up our abilities to enjoy our travels now. We're less critical of the travels and the trips we undertake. We're less, judgmental of our teachers and our gurus in life, and we can actually see their value again as Venus's critical energy in Virgo starts to leave. So that's also some good news as well. We start to be able to see the big picture and the big patterns in life rather than being so hung up on small nitty-gritty details and morals and ethics. We start to embrace an opportunity for good karma that comes our way, and this will be especially so as Mercury moves into Virgo a little later in this month as well. We start to really feel the Lord of our house of good karma bringing us good karma. So lots of promise and blessing in the 9th house of good fortune and luck coming your way at the end of August, Capricorn. So don't give up. If things are feeling tough, if things are feeling heavy and overwhelming for you in these areas right now, I just encourage you to keep going, hang on by the fingernails, keep putting one foot in front of the other, because the rewards will come at the end of August, but only to those who persevere and are stoic and enduring, as is required of us in life. You will get there, and the good news is coming, or the light at the end of the tunnel is coming. So don't forget, my beautiful Capricorn friends, eclipse season is actually here. We're in it right now, and there's never been a better time to get all the information that you need on how these wonderful eclipses will bless you. And they are eclipses of blessing. I can't wait to tell you all about them. For $5, the price of a coffee, you can join my Guiding Star family and get not one, but 2 mammoth eclipse forecasts during the month of August. I can't wait to see you all there.